You work hard, you get your paycheck, and before you even get to touch it, a huge chunk just vanishes. Federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare. It can feel like you're losing 30, even 40% of your money right off the top. But have you ever stopped to wonder how the wealthiest people on the planet, the ones with billion-dollar lifestyles, massive yachts and private jets, legally pay next to nothing in taxes? I'm not talking a low rate. I mean, in some years, their tax bill is literally zero. This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's not a secret deal made in a smoke-filled room. It's a strategy, hidden in plain sight, deep inside the US tax code. It's a system that is 100% legal, and it allows the ultra-rich to treat their massive fortunes like a personal, tax-free ATM. This is the single biggest reason the wealth gap in this country keeps getting wider. The rich aren't just playing on a different level, they're playing a completely different game. And today, I'm going to show you their playbook. Welcome to Ways of the Wealthy, where we help demystify the habits of the ultra-rich. Our system is designed to reward one kind of financial behavior and punish another. For most people, income is something you earn, a salary, a wage, a paycheck. And that earned income is the highest taxed money there is. But for the ultra-wealthy, income is a choice. It's an event they can schedule, or more importantly, an event they can put off for decades. While you get taxed on what you earn, they live lavishly off of what they own. They've mastered a simple, three-step process that revolves around debt, that four-letter word most of us are taught to fear, but which the rich have weaponized to build and protect their fortunes. This strategy is the bedrock of generational wealth, and it's called buy, borrow, die. Before we dive in, a quick but important disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. You should always consult with a qualified professional for your own situation. All right, let's pull back the curtain. First, let's talk about the reality for about 99% of us. Imagine you're a software engineer, a nurse, or a project manager, and you earn a great salary, say $100,000 a year. You feel like you're doing well, but let's follow the money. The federal government takes its cut right away. Depending on your filing status, a big chunk is gone. If you live in a state with income tax, there goes another slice. And it doesn't stop there. You also have FICA taxes for Social Security and Medicare. That's another 7.65% gone. When all is said and done, that $100,000 salary can easily shrink to $70,000 or even less in your bank account. You've lost 30% or more of your earnings to taxes. This is the world of earned income. You work, you earn, you get taxed immediately. The whole system is built to tax labor the most heavily. The IRS has a direct line into your paycheck through payroll. There's no hiding, no deferring. It's automatic and unavoidable. This is the game most of us are forced to play. We trade our time for money, and that money gets taxed at the highest rates. Now compare that to the game the wealthy play. A ProPublica investigation, which analyzed a treasure trove of confidential IRS records, laid this out in stunning detail. It found that the 25 richest Americans saw their collective net worth jump by $401 billion between 2014 and 2018. Yet over those same years, they paid just $13.6 billion in federal income taxes. That's a true tax rate of only 3.4%. Not 30%, but 3.4%. Some, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, have managed to go years paying zero in federal income tax. How is that even possible? The answer is shockingly simple. Most of their money doesn't come from a paycheck. It comes from the rising value of their assets, their stocks, their real estate, their companies. And here's the billion-dollar secret. In the United States, you do not pay taxes on unrealized gains. That growth in wealth, that $401 billion, isn't considered income by the IRS unless the assets are sold. And the entire strategy is built around one central goal: never sell. So how do they pay for their lifestyles? That brings us to the core of the strategy. The strategy that makes this low-tax world possible is known as buy, borrow, die. It's a three-step process that completely flips the financial script from earning income to leveraging wealth. It's how you turn your appreciating assets into tax-free cash, effectively creating a personal bank that never sends you a tax bill. Let's break down each step. Understanding this is like finally learning the hidden rules of money. The first step is the foundation for everything. Buy things that go up in value. This is the single biggest mindset shift between the wealthy and everyone else. Most people are focused on getting a bigger salary. The wealthy are focused on getting more ownership. They use their money to buy assets that will be worth more money over time. What kind of assets are we talking about? First one, stocks. This is the big one. Billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk hold almost all of their wealth in the stock of the companies they build. Real estate, commercial buildings, apartment complexes, raw land. Real estate not only appreciates, but can also produce rental income. Private businesses, owning or investing in private companies that grow in value. Art and collectibles. For the super rich, a Picasso can be just another asset class that appreciates tax-free. The key concept here is appreciation. They buy an asset for $10 million. 10 years later, it might be worth $50 million. That $40 million increase is called an unrealized capital gain. And as long as they don't sell, that $40 million gain is 100% tax-free. They are officially $40 million richer. But in the eyes of the IRS, they haven't made a dime of taxable income. This is a universe away from the person earning a salary. If you want an extra $40,000, you have to get a raise or work a side hustle, and that cash is taxed the second you get it. The wealthy person's assets did all the work for them, silently and without taxes. They know a W-2 might make you comfortable, but ownership is what makes you wealthy. So now they have these massive portfolios worth billions, growing every year. But that wealth is on paper. It's illiquid. You can't use a share of Tesla stock to buy groceries. They need cash to live. This is where the average person would say, well, I guess I'll sell a few million in stock. The moment they do that, bam, a taxable event. They have to pay capital gains tax. The wealthy have a much, much smarter way. And that leads us to the magic trick. This is the secret sauce. This is the engine that makes the whole thing go. Instead of selling their assets for cash, they borrow against them. It's basically the same idea as a home equity line of credit, or HELOC. Your house goes up in value, so you go to the bank and take out a loan against that new equity. The rich do the exact same thing, just on a much bigger scale, using their stock portfolios, their real estate, or their art collections as collateral. These are called pledged asset lines or securities-backed lines of credit, SBLOCs. A billionaire can walk into a private bank, pledge a slice of their portfolio, and walk out with a line of credit for millions, even hundreds of millions of dollars. And here it is, the most important sentence in this entire video. Loan proceeds are not taxable income. Let that sink in for a second. When a bank gives you a loan, the IRS doesn't see it as income. It's just debt. You can get millions of dollars wired directly into your checking account and use it to fund your entire lifestyle. Buy the yacht, the jet, the mansion, or just pay your credit card bills, and you owe zero tax on that money. You have successfully turned your on-paper wealth into spendable cash without triggering a single penny of capital gains tax. And all the while, your original assets are still sitting in your portfolio, continuing to grow in value. Now, you're probably asking two perfectly logical questions. First, what about the interest on the loan? The interest rates these private banks offer the ultra-wealthy are incredibly low, often just a point or two above the benchmark. For them, it's a tiny fee to access millions tax-free. Plus, if they use the loan to make more investments, the interest can become tax-deductible, lowering their tax bill even further. The second bigger question, but don't you have to pay the loan back? Yes, but not in the way you or I would. They can let the loan balance ride for years, even decades, often only paying the interest. As their assets continue to appreciate, their borrowing power grows. If their $1 billion portfolio grows to $1.2 billion, they can just take out a new, bigger loan to pay off the old one and pocket the difference in cash, still tax-free. They're kicking the can down the road indefinitely. They're playing an arbitrage game. As long as their assets are appreciating faster than the interest rate on their loan, they're coming out ahead. If their portfolio grows by 8% a year and their loan costs 3%, they're still making a 5% return on wealth they've already spent. This is how the rich live like kings while reporting almost no income to the IRS. But there's one final step that makes this strategy truly unbeatable for building wealth across generations. This sounds morbid, I know, but it is the final and most powerful piece of the tax avoidance puzzle. This is what ensures that all those capital gains taxes they've been dodging their whole lives aren't just deferred, but are eliminated completely, forever. It all comes down to a loophole in the US tax code called the step-up in basis. Let's use an example. Say your grandfather, we'll call him Andy, bought a single share of a startup for $1,000 back in the 80s. That $1,000 is his cost basis. Decades later, Andy is near the end of his life, and that one share is now worth $1 million. Andy was smart. He used the borrow strategy his whole life, taking loans against the stock to live on, never selling it, and never paying tax on the $999,000 gain. Now, Andy passes away and leaves that share to his daughter, Sarah. You'd think Sarah would now be on the hook for the taxes and that massive gain, but she's not. Because of the step-up in basis, the moment she inherits the stock, its cost basis is stepped up to its current market value. In other words, the IRS now pretends that Sarah bought that stock herself for $1 million on the day her father died. The original $1,000 cost basis is erased. The $999,000 in capital gains that piled up over an entire lifetime, it legally vanishes. Poof, gone forever. Sarah can sell the stock the next day for $1 million and pay absolutely zero in capital gains tax. This is the die part of the strategy. You buy assets, you borrow against them tax-free to live your life, and then you die, and your heirs inherit everything at a new, higher cost basis, wiping out a lifetime of tax liability. This is the master plan that allows dynasties to pass down billions from one generation to the next, almost entirely tax-free. And while there's always talk in Washington about getting rid of it as of 2025, the step-up in basis is still the law of the land. It's easy to hear all this and think, okay, great for billionaires, but I don't have $1 billion art collection. How is this useful for me? You might not be playing on the same scale, but the principles are exactly the same, and they're accessible to anyone who starts focusing on ownership. Let's go back to Sarah, but imagine she's not a billionaire's heir. She's a small business owner. She saves up and buys her first rental property for $300,000. That's her buy step. For 5 years, her tenant's rent covers the mortgage, and the property appreciates to $450,000. Now Sarah needs $100,000 to expand her business. The old way of thinking is to sell the property, pay a huge chunk of her $150,000 profit in capital gains tax, and use whatever is left. But Sarah knows the new rules. She goes to the bank and does a cash-out refinance for $100,000. That's her borrow step. The $100,000 in her hand is tax-free. She invested in her business to create more income, and the rent from her first property helps cover the new, larger loan. She's applying the exact same principle as the billionaires. Of course, this isn't a risk-free strategy. The biggest danger is a market crash. If the value of your assets, your collateral, plummets, the bank can issue a margin call, demanding you pay back part of the loan immediately. This could force you to sell your assets at the worst possible time, creating a cascade of losses. A sharp rise in interest rates could also make the debt much more expensive. This requires careful management and works best when assets are appreciating steadily. So that's the playbook, the three-step process the wealthy use to legally pay almost no tax: buy, borrow, die. They buy assets that grow in value. They borrow against those assets to get tax-free cash, and they pass the assets to their heirs with a clean slate, wiping out the tax bill forever. This isn't just a tax trick. It's a fundamental difference in how two groups of people see money. One group is taught to work for money, which is taxed at the highest rates. The other group is taught to have their money work for them, and to use the rules of debt and ownership to sidestep the very system that burdens everyone else. Our system doesn't really tax wealth, it taxes income. By choosing to never generate income in the traditional sense, the rich can legally opt out. You may not be a billionaire, but understanding these rules is the first step toward changing your own financial story. It starts with a mindset shift, from earning to owning. It starts with understanding that financial freedom isn't just about how much you make, but about what you own and how you structure it. The game may be rigged, but when you know the rules, you can start to play it differently. If you found this breakdown insightful and want to learn more about the specific strategies you can use to build wealth more tax efficiently, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that breaks down the hidden world of money. Thanks for watching.